Even after giving birth to twins, my husband, Kyle, left all the childcare to me. Despite the hardships I faced during pregnancy, he never once offered a word of comfort. Instead, he said this to me.
I'll be on a week-long business trip starting Monday.
That's going to be tough. Taking care of the twins by myself is not easy.
Well, it's work, so there's nothing I can do, haha.
At that moment, I felt that my husband was hiding something. After digging into it, it became clear that he had betrayed me. I had just finished seeing him off on his business trip, when I murmured quietly, "I hope you make it back safely." At 36, I'm a work-from-home mom, currently living in an apartment with my husband, Kyle. Kyle is 5 years younger than me, and we met at a cafe we both often frequented. He approached me one day because a book I was reading caught his interest. Kyle is outgoing and friendly, and I quickly took a liking to him, though in the beginning, I didn't think about dating him because of the age difference. However, Kyle was persistent and confessed to me.
I really like you.
His passion won me over, and I decided to marry him at the age of 30. We've had a peaceful marriage without major arguments, living our days blissfully. But there was a problem: we were struggling to conceive. We began trying for a baby 2 years into our marriage, but it just wasn't working. Together, we decided to go to a fertility clinic. The test results showed that there were no health issues with Kyle. However, it was revealed that I had a condition making it difficult for me to conceive. We started fertility treatments, which were physically and mentally demanding. The treatments were expensive, and the stress started to pile up. Eventually, the stress led Kyle to become more irritable. I felt partly to blame for our inability to have children, so I never confronted him. One day, Kyle suggested,
What if it's only the two of us for the rest of our lives?
But I just couldn't give up on the idea of having his child. Please, just a little more. I truly want a child with you. If it doesn't work out until we're 40, I'll give up then. Reluctantly, Kyle agreed to my plea. After a long struggle with infertility treatments, I finally became pregnant with twin girls. The joy was, of course, doubled. My parents, friends, and in-laws were all genuinely happy for us. I'm truly happy. Let's cherish and raise these girls. Maybe this can improve things with Kyle, which have been a bit strained lately. With such hopes, I dreamed of a future with our children. Though inexperienced in parenting, I had prepared well in advance, so I thought I would be fine. However, the reality was much harder than imagined. The real challenge begins after giving birth, as they say, and it was indeed true. Especially with twins, the effort required far exceeds that of raising a single child. Daily parenting tasks like feeding, diaper changes, baths, and putting them to sleep are doubled. Typically, a baby needs to be fed 8 to 10 times a day, but with twins, this goes up to 16 to 20 times. Feeding schedules for twins may not align, often resulting in one crying while the other is being fed. When you try to soothe the other, the first one starts to cry. Diaper changes are similar, because you cannot change both at the same time. While changing one, the other in that moment might have an accident, so instantly there is more work. Children often dirty their clothes during feedings or from sweating, so you have to change them often. Even if you've just finished changing them, they may soon have another accident, dirtying even your own clothes. Changing and washing clothes is time-consuming and also tiring. The cost of childcare doubles, creating a significant financial burden. The expense of diapers, formula, and clothing can sometimes feel overwhelming. The twins frequently woke up at night, preventing me from getting enough sleep. They would cry for long periods, and even if one fell asleep, the other's cries could wake them up again. As a result, I spent my days in a haze due to the lack of sleep. Because I needed to focus on caring for the twins, I had to temporarily stop working from home. My mother, who has her own job, couldn't help with childcare, and my mother-in-law lives too far away to rely on. Postpartum, one should rest, but with twins, there was no room for that luxury. I was forced into a lonely battle of caring for the twins by myself, as my husband, Kyle, was almost useless in childcare. Honestly, he was never cooperative with childcare from the start. Even when looking at our newborns, Kyle would just laugh and say,
They look like monkeys and aren't cute at all, haha.
Furthermore, to me, exhausted from giving birth, he'd jokingly say,
They're so ugly, are you sure they're mine?
He left all the household chores and childcare to me, using work as an excuse. When we didn't have children, it was somehow manageable, but now, not helping at all with the newborn twins and not being supportive, it started to be more frustrating. Whenever I asked for help, he'd escape saying,
I don't know how to do it, so I can't.
I was also new to parenting, feeling desperate as Kyle acted like the twins' upbringing was none of his business. I've asked for his cooperation, but it always ended in vain. Kyle, I understand work is hard. But I'm still postpartum, and this is the most challenging time for parenting. As a father, can't you show a little responsibility? Maybe come home early to help out for a while? But he would immediately get upset at this suggestion.
What? I work outside so you can relax at home. Don't you get it? You want me, exhausted, to do child care and housework. You must be joking.
I actually want to work too. But right now, I can't. I'm not just relaxing at home. I'm sleep deprived every day. Can't you help a little with the housework and children? Despite my repeated pleas, Kyle remained adamant, and our discussions always reached a deadlock. Eventually, he would become furious and forcefully end the conversation.
Shut up! I can't even rest when I come home. I've already had it up to here because of you not being able to get pregnant. I thought I'd finally be free from infertility treatments, and now this. We should never have had kids.
With those words, Kyle locked himself in his room, and I could only sit down in silence. Indeed, wanting children might have been my strong desire. Kyle himself, unlike me, wasn't desperate for children, and in hindsight, he was reluctant about the fertility treatments. Looking back, as my morning sickness got worse during pregnancy, Kyle's attitude turned gradually colder. When I neglected housework or was bedridden due to ill health, he would openly show his anger. Feeling guilty for pushing for fertility treatments, I silently endured his harsh words. I hoped things might change once the children were born, but the situation only deteriorated. The relationship between us cooled rapidly, and we seldom saw each other's faces at home. Then one day, Kyle dropped a bombshell. Despite having 1-week-old twins to care for, he announced he was going on a week-long business trip.
It's an important job, and I can afford to fail. I'll keep my phone off during the trip, so don't contact me. I won't read any messages or emails either.
Why? Can't someone else take your place? I just gave birth, and it's hard for me to act fast if something goes wrong. I'm worried about the children. If something happens, who should I ask for help? Despite my begging, Kyle wouldn't listen.
Don't be a crybaby. It's work, so there is nothing I can do. Haha.
He ignored my pleas, shielding himself with work. But I knew he was lying. He might not be aware of it, but he has a habit of touching his nose unconsciously when he lies. Intuitively, I felt his going on a business trip was a lie and felt I shouldn't ignore this gut feeling. I had turned a blind eye to his small lies before, like secretly spending money or pretending to shop while going to a casino, but this was different. This was directly related to taking care of our daughters. What was he hiding this time? Even if I confronted him directly, he would likely dodge the question. So, I pretended to give up trying to stop him to go on this trip until just before he left. I had been investigating this thing until the last moment he left. And the result was spot on. My intuition was correct. Kyle had an unbelievable secret. This was unforgivable. I intended to deal with it properly. A few days later, humming a tune and dressing stylishly, Kyle cheerfully said to me,
Well, I'm off on my business trip.
He seemed too cheerful for someone heading to work. But I said nothing about it. Take care. I hope you make it back safely.
Did you say something?
No, it's nothing. Have a safe trip. It seemed he didn't hear my murmur. With a puzzled look, Kyle left the house briskly, unaware of the storm that was about to hit him. Well, let him enjoy himself for now. When he comes back, he'll have no such leisure. For the week until Kyle's return, I decided to get the necessary preparations in order. I can hardly wait to see his reaction when he comes back. And after a week, Kyle returned home. His complexion had changed from cheerful to utterly exhausted, with bruises on his face and his clothes dirty and disheveled.
I'm back. Time beat. There's no place like home.
Oh, your face looks terrible. Where did these bruises come from?
I just fell down, that's all.
He was still unconsciously rubbing just below his nose, indicating he was lying. Then Kyle noticed the changes in the house.
What's with all these cardboard boxes? Are we moving?
The house was indeed filled with boxes of my belongings. The kids and I are moving out. I'm not planning to come back here.
What? What are you talking about?
I can no longer live with a husband who has 1-week-old twins at home, but pretends to be on a business trip to have an affair. I'm divorcing you and leaving here. Shocked, Kyle's face went even paler as he shouted in disbelief.
Don't be ridiculous. You're doing this because I was not helping with the kids. Where's your proof of my affair?
I showed him the decisive evidence, a video of Kyle discussing his affair.
Excited for our trip tomorrow. Don't worry, I fooled my wife. Did you also manage to talk to your husband, Emily? That's great.
Kyle's face turned completely pale upon seeing the video.
How? When did you? I thought you were in the hospital.
I didn't expect a camera I installed to record something like this. It was meant for another purpose. Actually, it was footage from a camera I bought to watch the babies. I installed cameras all over the house because I was anxious about being away from the children. I bought them secretly with my savings, anticipating Kyle would call it an unnecessary expense. I had known about a woman named Emily from Kyle's stories.
There's a cute girl at work, Emily. Shame she's married.
After I saw the baby monitor footage, I called Kyle's workplace to confirm the truth about his trip. It turned out Kyle was on paid leave. When I asked for Ms. Emily over the phone, I was told she's also on paid leave. As suspected, his lover was Emily, his younger coworker. I searched Kyle's study, found a contact list for employees, and reached out to Emily's home. The person who answered the phone was Emily's husband, and when I explained the situation, he was outraged. He had been suspecting Emily of infidelity and was just about to start investigating. I asked Emily's husband to keep the information I provided confidential. The day before Kyle was supposed to return home, I heard from Emily's husband about everything that had happened. Apparently, Kyle had gone to Emily's home to pick her up, where he encountered her husband and was beaten up. That explained the bruises on his face. Unable to return home, Kyle had spent time in a motel and had just managed to make it back. In front of me, Kyle was simply speechless, opening and closing his mouth with nothing to say. Suddenly, someone else entered the room.
Dad, Mom, why are you here?
My in-laws, shaking with anger, had come into the living room. I had informed them beforehand and shared the footage from the baby monitor.
You foolish son! Infidelity is unforgivable. You are no longer part of this family.
We will take our daughter and grandchildren. We won't let them near such a terrible man.
I will never forgive you.
They'll have my own parents-in-law against me too.
My parents had also come to help with the move. My mother was holding the twins, giving Kyle a cold stare.
You irresponsible son.
My mother-in-law, with tears streaming down her face, slapped Kyle across the face. Surrounded by both sets of parents, Kyle's expression grew even darker. Yes, I've also informed your company's president. They're aware of your leave for an affair trip. Hearing this, Kyle became furious and lashed out at me.
Damn, what have you done?
How dare you, after cheating on her, have the audacity to take that tone with my daughter?
I'm sorry.
When cornered, Kyle began to kneel and beg for forgiveness.
Please, Molly, the affair was just a moment of folly. I'll break it off with Emily and participate in housework and taking care of children.
Despite his pleading, my decision was firm. What are you saying now? When I needed support the most, you were of no help at all. Do you have any idea how hard it has been to take care of the twins and handle all the housework? And you were off on an affair trip just for your pleasure? Unbelievable.
Please don't talk like that. I'm really sorry, please.
I've had enough of excuses. I'm fed up with you. I can't even imagine living with you anymore. Don't ever come near us again. And make sure you pay the alimony and child support. With that, I left the apartment with my family. Later, Kyle and I divorced, and we filed for damages due to the affair. Kyle faced strict actions at his company and eventually resigned due to being shunned by his colleagues. He ended up with a debt of $100,000 for alimony and child support from both me and damages from Emily's husband. Now, he is working tirelessly in physical labor, exhausted from the physical strain. Emily, too, was divorced by her husband and left the company, returning to her rural hometown. She now works under supervision at a factory, shouldering the payments for the damages to her husband and me. As for me, I returned to my parents' home and am now focusing on raising the twins with my mother's support. Watching the twins grow up is a great joy, and they are loved by the entire family. They are growing up bright and healthy, and just seeing them makes my heart full. I am determined to do my best for their bright future.